FaceHammer live, sort of. People might have seen that we did a tweet about going live and we put something up on YouTube, but unfortunately due to technical issues that's fallen over. We're actually at Tabletop Gaming's studio. So they've kindly given us a little bit of a rundown of what they do and how to use technology and why it's fickle and where the gremlins in this studio live. But actually, like, it's a learning experience for us. So we obviously want to do more content, and so we're looking at doing a studio setup in the future. So basically, we're just here to utilise someone else's brain and knowledge and experience. And although the stream failed, we figured that we could still record a video and upload it in a traditional way. So here we are. So and this video is all about Lumineth, because Lumineth went up for pre-order. So you've remortgaged your house, Les?
I have remortgaged my house to buy the Lumineth. The ALARITH Stone Guard are, whilst they're amazing models, they are quite a costly investment. If you want to include them in your Lumineth list, which, I mean, you don't need to. I think there's lots of lists that you can take without them, or just have like one unit as a 100-point sort of like throwaway 5-man 10-week unit to like be in the game. But I quite like the resilience and the combat punch of them, so it is the list that I've always been looking to include.
There's not a multiple models thing that does that in the army, really, is there?
No, it's very. I mean, the army does seem like, when you look at it on paper, it's like it's got quite good shooting, quite obviously very good magic phase Teclis, quite good shooting, the Sentinels, and the combat seems a little bit lackluster. And there's only a couple of places, I think, within the Lumineth book that you can get your combat, which is where I've tried to double down with this list. You have to obviously give up something for that, which you give up your magic phase a little bit, which is interesting because I think once you remove Teclis and all of the subsidiary add-ons that you need to make Teclis like sort of like super razor sharp, it frees up quite a lot of points. And a couple of the things like the Stone King, Avalenor, I can't pronounce his name. He's quite a cheap way of getting some hard hitting punch.
Utility piece as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good. He's got some there is. It's quite when we cover off the list. There's quite a lot of shooting in there that that I think will catch people out. Obviously, people are seeing the Sentinel, but the King itself's got quite a good shooting attack. He just feels like a very good key part to the army, which is again he's almost half the points of Teclis. Which then allows you to put more stuff.
Way more flexibility for the rest of the list. You're not like Teclis. Well, in for a penny, in for a pound. Here's Teclis. Here's the support unit. Here's a second mage. Here's some like things to protect him. Here's a palisade to put in front of him. It's just, let's make a combat army, and this is basically what you ended up with.
Yeah, I think any of the lists where you take a big guy, like you take Archeon or Alariel or Nagash, I mean, they're different extremes, but I think you've got to put the points in to either protect them or get the most out of them, because it's such a large investment. Whereas the Stone King, what's nice about him is actually it's not that expensive at 360. It's kind of like a price of a big elite unit.
Yeah, probably about 450, 500 points or less. I think that's the threshold where if they do die, it might not be the end of the game.
Yeah.
And so you're not, well, I've got him, let's keep him, her alive or whatever.
It's basically anything below 400 or less, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, which is why you could, like, Crow could be an example of that. You don't have to take a banner, a bear, or whatever to go with him. You can just take him and then make a good list of an army. He's still a useful piece.
No, I agree. It's like the guys have covered off. It's just like if he does die, it's still got an army around you to go out and play the objective game.
And he's pretty good at not dying.
Yeah, he's very good at not dying. And you play more wounds.
But I think what we should do is talk about the list that you can see up on the screen. Is that basically is a list that Les has put together, and we're just going to talk through the elements of the list and what it does and why it's there, to give you an example of how you can write a ALARITH focused Lumineth list without Teclis for a match play and be competitive, and we'll talk about why things are in there and why you've got two stone mages and things like that. So
yeah,
you
you may notice that we're looking over to the right as well, and that's because we've
got
the screen over here on the right, so we can see the list. So it's like if you think, why are they looking over to the right all the time? It's because that's where the list is.
We're very confused.
Yeah, so it's like we're looking.
Yeah, it's like the list for us is here.
There for you, and it's here for us. So yeah, if you do wonder, we'll think why we're looking off. That is why. So yeah, it's I guess we should just start like top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, do you have a specific goal in mind when you wrote this list? Was there like a temple or a foundation, or were you like, I want to use this unit and make it work, or I want to use this monster and make it work? Where did it come from?
I think when I started looking at this list, it was very it was like, how do I write a list of 8 tech lists? And then if you go into the list of 8 tech lists, I think for me, you lean into the ALARITH units, which are the mountains, the king, the stone guard, and the stone mages. That then sort of almost funnels you into what great nation you're going to pick, because the stone stance or the ALARITH stance, I can't remember the actual correct name for it, is an innate ability that the ALARITH units get, which is they reduce the rend of an incoming attack to 1 if they declare the stance at the start of the hero.
2-1 or by 1.
By 1. So I go -1 to 0, or 2 to 1. I think that's correct.
No, it's if it's -1, it goes to 0. If it's -2, it would just be -2.
Yeah, you don't reduce it. It just drops -1 down. So then you've got that. So then if you're already taking that and you've already got those ALARITH wizards with that, or units with that ability, it makes sense for you then to go into the Ymetrica Great Nation, which essentially does, instead of it being a -1 to 0, it then becomes this -2 and -1. So it's got that reduction. -3 still goes through, like, the prime still smashes stuff, but it's, if you're Ren 2, which is quite common out there, like, when you think of like your Morsar guard and stuff like that.
Anything ogre sized, it's pretty kind. Anything ogre sized with a great weapon is probably going to be Rend 1 or 2 max. So like, it makes sense for you to go. I mean, you can do sort of like Sire as a great nation, which gives you the opportunity to have double Aether Quartz, which is quite handy. But I think if you're going to go down the route of ALARITH, it just kind of points you directly at, like, Ymetrica, in my opinion anyway. I'm not sure if you guys, I mean, I know I'm the one that knows the book a little bit more than everyone else, but I think that's kind of like where we are with it. So.
But hasn't the High King got the Ymetrica keyword as well?
He has, yeah.
So he's actually the named cow. I'm going to call him Mountain Cow.
Yeah,
the named Mountain Cow is actually from Ymetrica, so it's it makes more sense, for theme.
But, yeah, because it's a theme. I'm a narrative gamer.
Avalenor. Is it Avalenor?
Avalenor. There's the narrative.
It just have as many
cows
as possible.
And is their battle line the stonemasons?
When you Ymetrica, the stone guard become battle line in your
yeah, that's what I meant. Stone something.
Stone. It's all stone, right? It's all mountains.
It's all rocks. Pebbles. Pebble guard.
Yeah.
Rocks, pebbles, and cows.
So yeah, it allows you then to not invest in wardens and sentinels and stuff like that. If you didn't want to. I mean, I think that most Lumineth lists have a lot of sentinels in. I think you'd be silly to at least not have a unit of 2 units with 10. I think. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have them, but just the reach out ability that they've got with their shooting, you always have.
It's a bit like Bone Reapers. Like your Mortec crawlers give you a way to reach out and kill those things that you can't get to with combat troops. Yeah. Particularly if you don't have flying units or fast units.
Yeah, cavalry here, didn't you?
I know the stone mason can cast a spell that makes you fly, but it's only in self. I think it's a really weird spell.
Yeah, it's not.
It sort of makes him like do like a fart and he flies and everything.
Well, he's got that.
Hits the enemy unit and they go slow. It's like galvanic something.
Yeah, he's come through pandan it on the stone anyway, so it makes sense for him to like float about like that. So yes.
I just got a feeling if he does like a gravity pop, locks somebody down. But I mean, I think the fact you're in. I mean, you get obviously with the Lumineth stuff, you get the Aether Quartz.
Yeah.
You get the pick 2 units to fight, so you got one of them might as well go into combat, right? Because that kind of leans into lightning reflexes, and then you've obviously gone that it kind of logically you go right, okay, well, Ymetrica because I'm going to lean into the cows and the stone guys. Then you think, well, actually, if I'm doing that, I might as well take the ALARITH Temple Battalion.
Yeah.
Which lowers your drops, but is also has all the units you're going to take anyway
in it. Yeah. So.
Unlocks your artifacts as well, because you're forced to take certain traits and artifacts because you're Ymetrica, but actually you get a formation that allows you, gives you an extra command point and an extra artifact.
I don't think I've actually included the additional artifact on the separate stone mage there.
No, I don't think you have. No.
So I mean, there isn't actually when you look at the ALARITH stuff there, the artifacts are like they're not that good. There's only 3 that you can choose from, but you know it's like a mortal wound bounce on a 5-up, a spell bounce only on the bearer on a 4-up. And then if the bearer is a wizard, add 1 to the number of mortal wounds inflicted by arcane bolt cast by the bearer. So like that, they're not particularly
groundbreaking.
You probably lean to the realm artifacts, I imagine.
Yeah, just do the red one and
well, maybe, but I think there are ones. I think there's one that allows you to reroll charges, and there might be some buff ancillary units. So it's probably good to read through those off the top of my head. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's within the new handbook, isn't it? So we need to double check it. But yeah, I did. I think that is. I've missed that on there, which is.
But I think it's almost to say it doesn't really matter. Take what you want, really. That's when I make or break the list.
No, it's not. It's all about the.
There's not a way to boost that person's magic or anything. So like make them live for longer, make them supportive, that type of thing.
It's and again, like there's only like 2 casters in there, so it's not. I mean, well, underlying there's 4 casters in there because the Sentinels are obviously casters, but it's not the same as sort of like your standard LUMINETH. Like the hero phase will be quick, I think. So it's very interesting. But I mean, it's
so Ymetrica does. What does the temple Ymetrica gives you? That's the red. It gives you command ability as well.
Yeah, the command ability is. Let me just double check the command ability because I can never remember it off the top of my head.
You just had it. You literally were on it.
I was on it like 2 seconds ago. So yeah, the command ability. Pick 1 friendly Ymetrica unit that has just forced the enemy unit to move using the Tectonic Force Battle Flight for the first time in the phase, and is wholly within 18 inches of the hero. You can use the Tectonic Force Battle trait for a second time by picking 1 other enemy unit within 1 inch of that friendly unit. So you essentially get to do the double push, which
so that basically at the end of the combat phase, you pick a unit, they move 2 inches, then you can pile in 1 inch. So basically, it means that you can kind of push people off objectives. So they have to finish further away, and they have to move back. So it allows you to almost, if you're fighting on an objective, you can push a lot of them off at the range, and then move up. If you can do that twice, that's a double push. So you're potentially moving an enemy unit 4 inches.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot, because you could drop quite a lot of bodies out of range.
Yeah, that's a different unit though, don't you?
Not if you use that command ability, which allows you to get around that restriction.
Very good interior missions. Can you imagine the king goes in, fights
just push them off the objective, you have to kill them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's a fairly static list as well, isn't it? There isn't anything fast about that list. You've got the option to double something's movement speed.
With a spell, if you were to put on the...
That's it.
But I mean, it's not on the Sentinels, but I think you put the... I think I'm talking rubbish. No, you need to put speed of hish on one of the Sentinel units.
Okay, so you don't have that utility in there, so if someone has got that before, you being able to push them off it and beat them up and not die, which is kind of the theme of the list, isn't it? They need to be able to bully things backwards.
And then so we've got obviously your Ymetrica stuff, but you've also got the battalion, the ALARITH Temple.
Yeah, which I've got in front of me now just to see, which again sort of like doubles down on the survivability of the army and reduces the drop count. So.
And that's got the king, 3 units of stone guard and the mage.
Yeah.
So that's basically your army's a 4-drop.
Because it'd be 1 drop with the battalion, then the additional mage, and then
2
sentinel units.
Yeah. And what does the temple give you?
The ALARITH battalion is at the start of combat phase. Any friendly stone guard units from this battalion that are wholly within 12 inches of a friendly hero from the same battalion can turn their skin to stone until the end of the phase. You can reroll save rolls for attacks that target a unit that has turned its skin to stone, but models in that unit that has turned its skin to stone can only move 1 inch when they pile in. So if you're within range of, if you're wholly within 12 inches of a model, a hero, which would be the king or one of the mages, then you get to reroll armor saves. But by doing that, you can only pile in 1 inch. I mean,
which you don't really care about.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's all about surviving and pushing, and I mean, I think the fact that the king is a hero, right?
Yeah.
But then the other one's not a hero, is that right?
The other one's not a hero.
But if you take the king, who's 20 points more, he's a hero.
Yeah.
And the fact is, so obviously there's a lot of missions you need to be a behemoth or a leader, so he's both. And then obviously you get the fact that he unlocks his own ability.
Yeah.
With a 3-up rerollable armor save, ignoring rend 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to die very easily.
No, he's 14 wounds.
So I think he's super solid, but obviously I think the Stone Mages are kind of key to the army.
Yeah, I think the reason I included the second Stone Mage was I was 130 points down. Now I could have maybe increased one of the ALARITH Stone Guard units because they're only 100 points for 5. But it's all about making sure that the king fights at his optimum all of the time. Because he's got the innate ability is if he's within range of a Stone Mage, then his damage table fights at the top level. So with 2.
Yeah, exactly. So you go, well, you might as well have 2 because it's redundancy, right? If one gets killed, you still might have one.
Your spells in the book are pretty solid.
So they've got a different lore to the units, haven't they? So the spells you've taken, what do they do?
So the spells I've taken, the Crippling Vertigo and
okay, let's do all the work in this.
Voice of the Mountain. Yeah, it's really good because normally you're the one doing it, aren't you? Let me just find. I can remember roughly what they are, but I want to get them right.
You just skip past all that Path to Glory stuff.
Yeah.
Right,
so the Voice of the Mountains, is that the first one or the?
Well, we could go through.
Crippling Vertigo.
Crippling Vertigo.
So Crippling Vertigo, cast on a 6. Pick one enemy unit wholly within 18 inches of the caster invisible to them. Until your next hero phase, roll 2d6 before that unit makes a normal move, a charge move, or a pile-in. If the roll is greater than that unit's bravery characteristic, it can't move.
Like a slightly weaker Avalenor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite good.
It's quite good, but it combos nicely with the Voice of the Mountain, which is casting value 6. If you successfully cast until the end of the turn, subtract 2 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units.
Yeah.
So if this is the thing, Voice of the Mountain has a cast value of 6. If successfully cast until the end of the turn, subtract 2 from bravery characteristics of enemy units. Then, until your next hero phase, subtract 1 from the characteristics of enemy units. There's no range.
Yeah.
This table.
So it's like 2, and then it's 1 in there. Go.
Yeah. So like everything. So it goes off on a 6. Everything on the table is -2 bravery, and then to your next turn -1, and then to the next hero phase.
Devastating for some armies. Some armies are really going to care about -1 or -2.
It's that's what I think is really, really handy. So you obviously that's the important one to get off before you do the Crippling Vertigo. The ranging of the Vertigo is a bit difficult.
So you've got I was going to say the Vertigo. I guess the idea of this is that your casters will be up, but they will be up behind a screen of indestructible dudes.
Yeah, and they've got like quite good abilities. The Stone Mages. They're not very good at fighting, but they're like it's essentially a mini fire sale army. Is in like it becomes a
with the shooting phase.
It's a castle with a shooting phase. And it all moves and supports each other. It's like you build it and then you move forward.
You've got multiple ways to pick a unit and try and stop it from doing what it should do. So you can kill it with the shooting, you can brave it with the resilience of the army, or if you don't want something to reach you can kind of mini Bellicor it. Yeah. And then if it does get to you, it's going to be slightly lower bravery, and it's like it might not be able to do what it wants when it gets there. So
yeah, and it does make a big difference, I think. Which is kind of cool. But like, I actually think the Stone Mages are really good. So like, the Stone Mage has got a stance as well, which it says at the start of the combat phase, you can say the model will adopt the Stone stance. If you do so, this model and any friendly ALARITH Stone Guard units wholly within 12 cannot make a piling move that phase. But until that phase, they improve the rend characteristics of their melee weapons by 1. So then, that then makes your hammers that are not particularly they've got no rend, but any 6s do an additional hit, become rend 1. So again, and that's just an ability. So you can basically have that with your 2 models.
They not they do an extra hit, or do they do mortal wounds, or is that the other one?
It's the picks do the the diamond picks. I was looking at the wrong thing. The diamond pick hammer inflicts on a 6 inflicts a mortal wound. The stone mallet, an attack rate of stone mallet is a 6. Add 1 to the damage inflicted.
Right. So it becomes damage 2.
So they become damage 2. Right. And they. So the rend ones, they become rend 2. Any 6 do damage 2.
Yeah, because they seem stronger than the picks, right?
I think that the mortal wounds is kind of good.
You get extra attack with the picks.
No, they're exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Yeah. The same profile, isn't it? It's just they've got the 2 different special rules.
They've just got the additional special rule, which I think is really good. Again, with 2, it basically covers your entire army then. So you basically just go like both of them do their ability, home in 12, they bubble up. You then got your mallets doing rend 2, and any 6s doing additional bit of damage. that combos then with the King's command ability. If you roll the 3, then all 3 of your Stone Guard units have an extra attack as well. So then the 3 attacks run to any 60 an additional 5 damage.
Tasty. So what about the big dude? What about the other damage source in your army?
The other damage source in my army is
his shooting attack as well.
He's just. I think he's brilliant. I think like people are maybe snoozing on him a little bit. I'm sure that there's some people out there playing in the tabletop simulator, and I'm sure that other people have noticed it. But most of the stuff I've seen online is all around techless. It does. I just think he's brilliant for his points. I think he's an absolute sledgehammer. That also is like he's a hammer and an anvil in one. He's just, particularly if you combo him with his Aetherport's ability, if that one turn that something comes into you and it's got really high rend, you spend his Aetherport's and then he's got a 2-up rerollable armor save.
Ironically, it almost looks like they've modelled him on an anvil with 2 hammers. I mean, it's a rock with 2 hammers, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
He's I think he's so good. I mean, the range of his shooting attack, he's got a 13-inch range, 1 shotgun that is 3s and 2s, rend 2, damage d6.
Not bad. When you've got some sentinels, you can try and pop something off with that, and then you can back it up with a couple of shots from one of the sentinel units and a couple of shots from the other one. You're not over allocating at any point.
And I mean, it degrades, as he takes damage, but hopefully the stone mages are, in range, and then that keeps him fighting on the same sort of like damage table as he should be anyway.
I think the big thing for me is he's got a 12-inch, if he's on her, -1 to hit bubble. And I remember from using things like the Cursed Book and the Morghast, just also the Mongol. It was so good just to have that to protect other things.
Yeah. You just stand this guy next to those guys, and both of them take less damage. It's huge.
It's he just does so many different things. I mean, if you charge him, he gets an additional attack to his already 6 attacks, So it's like if the model does not make a charge move in your charge phase, add 1 to the attack's characteristics of the melee weapons until the next movement phase. Yeah. So even if you're stuck on something,
you
get an additional
7 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, and it's damage 5.
Damage 5. Yeah, and then his hubes are 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 1, damage 2.
And his command ability is an extra attack as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But
that's himself, or what? What does he buff with his command ability?
So he doesn't get to buff himself.
But he can buff the stone guard,
which is a big deal.
And they're really resilient as well. If they're -1 to hit, ignoring rend 1 and 2 with a rerollable armor save.
An extra attack each, because why not? Let's make them more hitty as well.
And if they're in range of the stone guard, they're rend 2 as well. So they're very it then makes the army not only be super resilient, it also makes it damages stuff. I mean, I don't know how it would fare against OBR, but would you want to fight it with more tech guys?
If they were crematorium, crack on. Crematorium behind harvesters, crack on, kill them as much as you want. I think for me, with OBR, there's such a good grounded book that you can deal. I looked on the Sentinels, and the fact that they can shoot stuff out of line of sight is only if the champion's alive, and they're only a wizard if the champion's alive. And the Mortec Crawler can basically pick the champion, roll 2 dice, if you roll over his wounds it's dead, or it's got 1 wound. So
also, if that army chooses to target your crawlers and doesn't kill it, you get way better until you die, right? Yeah. I think they're good antidote to them actually.
Because you could, if they try and if you tried alpha, I mean you'd probably be around the same drops, but if you tried to alpha off the Mortecs, you'd then just be able to go, if you don't kill the Mortec and leave it on a couple wounds, then you'd better auto kill both the stone mages.
Yeah, just because of the ability.
So
it's a hard counter.
I think they don't like rend, they don't like shooting, but at the same time you don't like mortal wounds, and they've got ways to do that as well. And I think it'd be an interesting game. I think, well, perhaps we'll play it when you play it.
Maybe when I've got I just looked at it and I was like, I've bought all of those men, and I'm like, I haven't. I need to buy another box of stone guards, so I'm going to have to go and talk to my mortgage advisor.
Or go sell your body down.
To buy another box of stone guards. He's got a very odd rule as well, which is the Elder Wisdom rule, which isn't going to be that applicable, I think, for a lot of players with it, because you just don't have enough models with command abilities, which is, it only really works on Altharion, which is if you're within 6 inches of this model and you're still within 6 inches in your next hero phase, you get to use your command ability for free.
Would he be a good slot into the list if you drop one of the mages? Or is he too expensive?
He's too expensive. I'd love Altharion to be in the list, because I think Altharion is to me, the perfect perfect.
It's like a mini cow
fighter. Yeah,
I'd take like Altharin and Life Swarm or something like that, because looking at this list, Life Swarm wouldn't be a bad addition. For healing him up. You don't have healing in the list, do you?
How many points is Altharin?
I'm just checking it because I could drop.
We're just going to change his list.
Just going to change, yeah. Oh, I've got enough points. So if you drop one of the Stone Guard unit to 5, and then drop one of the mountains, Stone Mages, then you slot Altharin in and have 10 points spare. Because he's 230.
Very cool. He does some unique stuff, doesn't he?
He's a real beast in combat. So.
And he's a beast in combat with a small footprint, which is not what the rest of this army is.
And he's also got mortal wound shooting and stuff like that, which goes with the ever shooting. He's just very, really cool. And I've also painted him, which is also very interesting, which has made it a little bit more exciting for me. So yeah, I mean, just looking at like Altharin's sort of like, I'm just on his page now just to see how that would change the list. I mean, in your shooting phase, pick one enemy unit within 18 on a 1, nothing happens, 2 to 4 D3 mortals on a 5 plus D6.
It's not a bad addition. I mean,
he fits as well. He's like 3 plus ignore rend.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
The list is actually a couple of little. Basically, it does combat and shooting, but it is because you don't have techness in there. You have the ability to drop out a couple of things. You have that wiggle room, and you could add in anything. Like you could have a couple units of Dawn Riders or 1 unit of Dawn Riders. That added a lot to it, especially had the double move spell in there.
Yeah, totally.
You could go down a lot of different routes and keep kind of the core the same, but change 200, 250 points worth of it, and get a big nuanced alteration. Yeah,
it's. I think again, it just allows you to tweak stuff. It's a shame because I'm one of the few that really likes the Techless model, and. I'd like to have lists with Techless in, but I do. That's excited me, the idea of putting Altharin in there, because I've never really found enough space for him. But he's
because Techless.
Yeah, but he's got so many attacks. Like it's like
he's a beast.
Imagine like the King and Altharin going into something at the same time. It just because they go before everything else, don't they?
He's got a free up save as well. I mean, it's
free up saving more rend with
Yeah.
and that's without spending his Aether Quartz. He also gets a free command ability with as well each turn if he's in range of the King, which is
buffs your bravery to 10.
The entire army having moved 6, which isn't huge but isn't tiny.
They move 4, the Stone Guard.
The Stone Guard.
Okay.
So that's one of the things I saw a lot of people say about when they saw the scroll. Disappointed that they're slow. I think elves they should be 5 or 6, but they're moving 4. But I guess it's
that's why they get their special other stuff.
That's why they're so tanky.
And the 2 wounds.
Yeah. So you could, if that double movement spell is in there, because you guys are movement 4, which I just found out, that's useful. But also on your movement 6 guys, like movement 12 and a charge is not a bad option. And being able to just poke, literally just send out a human bolt thrower, and just get in someone's way. Like you have to deal with stuff like Altharin, and he's going to stick around for longer than most people would imagine.
Yeah, every time I played against him in playtesting, I was absolutely completely overwhelmed by how good he was. It was like I was only a fan. He's got 7 wounds. Ignore him. And every single time he'd be tagged onto the corner of a unit, and I'd be like, oh, because it's just the amount of attacks.
You can't get many models around him to hit him. That's because he's so small.
Yeah, it's only 40 mil base, isn't it?
I think it's a 50.
Yeah, he's a Venator base.
So. Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard to just get around that model to hit it, and that's how I use things like Mortis Engines when I play Death. Is when I've got a vampire or a zombie drone, and Mortis Engine just stands next to him. So you can't actually get round the back of the base and swamp him with 20 extra attacks.
Him being nestled in some Stone Guard, just doing a bit more damage, or next to your King or whatever. And the thing is, if your opponent if they put enough into him to kill him, then they're taking something that is capable of killing him, which is probably worth far more than his points, and putting it into him rather than the rest of your army. So they might have to send something over there that's wasting its high rend because they want to get rid of him, and then they're not using it on your Stone Guard or your King.
And you could even do some cheeky stuff, I don't know how techy it is, but say you've got your Stone King and your unit fighting an enemy unit, you could almost push them off with the Stone Guard, and then not use the ability from the cow, and they push him out of combat. And that allows you to then move and charge something else. Because you've pushed them out of 3 inches. So I think there's some real trick when you can manipulate movement of your opponent in combat.
Anything that's unique in the game that opens up.
There will be gaming opportunities to exploit that. And so if you've got Altharin, you can almost push them off Altharin. So it's free to do.
If you don't have something with a little baby base, it's hard to make the most of that with a great big stone mountain cow. Whereas this little dude's looking about,
It's
quite a good option.
I mean, yeah, and I think he's just perfect at sort of like dealing with those little 10-man units, and you know, and even like heroes. You pick the hero, he gets an additional damage with one of the weapons if he picks that hero. Any 6s do mortal wounds in addition, plus any 6s explode into 2 hits.
Yeah, it's cool.
So, and he's already got loads of attacks. So,
I mean, and you don't have to paint or buy 5 more stone guards.
yeah, because like.
And Alfarin is such a joy to build and paint. So
I'm not saying anything.
I'm just Byron fishing.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, that's a list. It's 134 wounds, but they're really hard to kill.
Oh
wounds.
god, no.
Yeah. Very good in combat. It's got a bit of shooting. It's got a bit of magic. It's a nice, well-rounded list. So I think
that's like 200 effective wounds. Isn't
be
it?
fun to play. Like that. Out of the Lumineth stuff, this actually, like in my head, all I'm thinking of, they're like really good Chaos Warriors. and the big cow is like a big demon.
Yeah.
And then I can just proxy it, right?
Yeah.
Base sizes.
That's how it works.
Yeah,
right?
same
I
size as
just
big
proxy
juice.
it, because then it doesn't cost me my house to connect it.
So
all joking aside.
£7.50 for a Stone Guard model.
On the subject of which, you should click through our affiliate link and get them from Element Games.
Yes.
Because at least you get a discount.
You do get them
Like
discount.
pre-order now.
Yeah.
You know.
We'll have a one-click bundle, and we'll sneakily put Altharion into it just in case you really want to go big, and in case you've already bought you haven't already got.
Yeah. Well, what we could do is we could put up like a 1750 point version of this,
And then a Bellicle.
Yeah.
Bellicle add-on.
Yeah.
If you want to do the chaos,
The Warrior Chaos.
the chaos version.
Why not? Be like,
Sorry.
put up a 1750 point of this, and then like we'll put in the description of that. You could buy this and this, or this and this, or this and this, depending what route you go down. So actually, you might be able to drop out a bit of that, get the starter box with the book and the dice, and then have an option for like 10 spears or 5 riders or Altharion or whatever.
I really rate the spears in tents. I know a lot of people go into the
Running too wide.
Yeah, because they got like
too wide. Like, how is that a thing?
and also you don't have to worry about the breaking spears. I mean, you have to have the cowhead man, but like no breaking spears.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to playing it. I got excited, you know, when me and Russ were talking about it, and Russ got like sad because he didn't like it. It made me realise that I really wanted to play it. So that was really good.
It's just every army just seems better than the Slaves of Darkness. So
I think it does sound, apart from the like MSU cav based list that I kind of fiddled around with a complete lack of knowledge, this is probably the most interesting selling thing that I think I've seen come out of the book, because it appeals to me in lots of little ways. There's some sneaky stuff that isn't immediately apparent that's quite cool, and I think it'd be quite a rewarding army to play with as well. Also, it's the type of thing where you start off with this core, and you're like just 1 or 2 purchases off like 15 different types of completely different lists, whether that's endless spells or a couple unit of horses or spearmen or like mage heavy, different temple, whatever it is.
Yeah, it'd be good. I mean, like you start looking into like how would you get. The main problem with this list is it's a bit slow, so you just essentially just take the Soul Screen bridge, don't you? You just like put the bridge in instead, and then just go like, meow, I'm here.
I don't even know if like speed is an issue, because you've got some shooting to enact, and you want to kind of want them hitting your stone wall, right? That's the whole point. So
break upon my stone wall.
It's a really good army to give away the priority, isn't it? Like, hey, you have it, I'm here. Like,
charge the king, he's got an extra attack.
I've moved on to the objectives, now you get them off while I shoot you.
And push you backwards.
Yeah, push you off the objectives.
And
then
push you
get close, yeah. You'll be like, oh, how many guys have you got in range there? Oh, I've got 6, so I beat those guys. Okay, cool. Right, end of the phase, push you back. How many guys you got in range now? Cool, I've got the objective still.
Yeah, and that's why it's strong. So
really, you have to over commit models in range of the objectives, because you're always going to be pushed back out of range.
Yeah. How many weeks do you to get painted then?
Oh, I've got too much to paint at the moment, but I am excited.
Just try Russian grey.
Yeah, I am really excited about playing it now, which is like it's been
a start, right?
It's been really nice. Like I've got quite obviously painting for a living and stuff. It's very easy to focus on the job side of things and not focus on my own hobby. But this has really excited me. You know, there's nothing that quite excites me like the look on Russ's face when he doesn't like something. So it's.
I got the joy of painting for a commission the Lumineth set, which then told me that I'll never collect this army in my life.
They are really. I mean, they're really cool. I'm really excited about getting it on the table, and yeah, hopefully we can do. I want it, but obviously you're gonna have to play against me, unfortunately.
We'll do it
That's fine, because I don't mind beaten stuff that I don't like. So
We'll do a redux on this later. So all those things we said are potentials. Probably next time we sit down and talk about this list, we are going to be trying out those 250 point like nuances.
Yeah, that we can slot in and stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you like it, if you think it's rubbish, let me know.
Suggested alterations, particular endless spells or whatever. I think Lifestorm would be a good one.
Yeah.
How you deal with that tricky 200 points at the end, anything like that.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot that you could slot in to make it a little bit better, and it's like add your flavour, to it, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, if you like this sort of thing and you want Russ to do one on slaves or Byron to do like some weird one where it's like he's taking multiple chaos hangs
mixed order with Elflarion and a mountain cowman.
18 cockatrices.
19 cockatrice lists that he's doing.
I mean, the menagerie will happen at some point. It's just not the good one.
Yeah, but yeah, if you like it, let us know. If you don't, also let us know. If you think we're talking stuff rubbish, like you're talking rubbish, let us know. Do the like and subscribe thing, and it really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit that bell notification to be notified for future content, because there's going to be plenty more of this coming up. And if you want us to cover anything specific, then by all means just pop a comment down below, and we will get to it as soon as possible.
Awesome. And if you,
I just want to plug the Discord. We did a hangout and chat on the Discord about Army Lists mostly last night.
If you want to be really part of a live version of this discussion, give us your thoughts, and then maybe that'll dictate kind of where we end up with the future army when Russ paints his Slaves to Darkness.
Yeah, he's going to happen.
It will.
I'll
paint them. I'll just play a game and go, these are rubbish.
He's definitely not picked up a Star Collection box because we're at the home of hobby in Stockport. But yeah, also on the obviously we just plugged the Discord. If you want to get some of the super sick blue and like rust copper dice that I tweeted the other day, like the pictures don't even justice. Yeah, they're in there. Like again, it is us selling you some wares, but it really helps us and supports what we do. And we're going to be hopefully investing in some stuff to maybe do some battle reports in the future. And if that that isn't free, so if you can help us, like it goes back into producing content. Hopefully that you guys think.
Hopefully one day we can get a studio of our own. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.